Okay, so gonna see if I can record. This is not a how-to video; it's more of a demonstration. Just because when you really start to get into, kind of the detailed stuff, it's just you can't be thinking too much about formulaics, and it just becomes a lot more. Um, you wind up having to rely more on your perceptions. So I mean, like these are the first lines that I'm putting down. They're not like the usual. First we draw a ball, and then we put a crosshair on it, and then we draw the back end of it, and then we do the mouth. It's like that's not what I'm doing. First thing I'm doing is just going straight for a large silhouette. And then if I want, I can, put a crosshair on the thing. But usually what I do is I wind up marking down cheekbones. In the end, everything that you do is you're still drawing form, and there's more than one way to get form drawn. This is why a lot of my videos kind of focus on different ways to do it. Why I demonstrate freeform drawing, why I demonstrate construction drawing, because if you really want to be drawing artistically to the point where you can actually call it art, call it entertainment, say that it comes from inside, and all that wonderful stuff. You need to have all the available skills and have them. You need to have them mastered to a degree where you're not thinking about the skills themselves, and you're not thinking about, well, what should I do? How do I do this? You just think more about, well, what am I trying to draw? Right? Because I can draw a form with just outlines, right? I can pull the lines in, then it becomes, form. Right? I could do that. I could draw forms by, the same form by using a cylinder, right? So this is the more comic booky style that they try to teach you, right? They teach you to construct things, and you use geometric primitives, right? That's another way. And then you try and find some way to attach the two. And then there's a lot of this grid lining, which I use, right? Then there's freeform, which is kind of a cross between the two. Not saying one's better than the other. I just say they're all different methods. You got to be good at all of them, if you really want to. Yeah, it looks like a dick, whatever. Right? You need to be able to know them all and just not even be thinking about them. And so that's why I don't record videos on how to draw, amazing, wonderful, artistic heads, because it's just there are so many ways about going it, it's never the same, because I'll be feeling different ways of doing it, at different times of the day. And a lot of it is just about going with the flow. So I can't teach you how to go with the flow. All I can say is, if you don't have the skills necessary to deal with form, and you don't have your anatomy studies, if you don't do any of that stuff, then there is no flow for you to go along with. You can't even feel the flow. You'll just be going bonk, bonk, bonk the whole time. running into problems and just running into your ignorance, running into your inabilities. Right now I don't have any reference up. Like this is all just from memory and all just from memory and imagination. When I erase things, I use a large kind of airbrush style eraser. Like I just do it to knock back the drawing because I'm always adjusting. But I mean, this is not the only way, to draw heads. It's like and for man, this is like the question I get asked the most is, what software are you using and what kind of pen or what kind of brush, blah blah blah, and I'm like, it's not about what brush you're holding, it's who's holding the brush. So just keep that in mind, If you find that your drawing's not turning out the way you want it to, well, maybe it's not, maybe the point of failure isn't the brush. Stop blaming the tools. Well, in my case, when I blame the tools, I go and I actually fix them myself and I make my own, but I'm not going to ask you to go through a decade's worth of programming to figure out how to do that. That's something that's kind of just decided by circumstances and personal decisions. There's another way I can draw heads, and that's, even more freeform. So I think the kind of funny thing is when I draw anime style heads, it's more formulaic than when I do the freeform stuff. So I guess if I were to do a video on, how to draw anime heads, I'd just say, well, be able to draw the normal ones, you know, be able to draw the realistic ones really, really well. And then drawing anime heads will be easy. That's usually, I think that'd probably be the best advice I can give to anyone who wants to learn how to draw something is, you want to learn how to draw something, learn how to draw something even harder. And then you'll find that drawing that one thing that you want to draw is actually really easy. If you can't draw the one thing that you're trying to draw, well, you're just not challenging yourself enough. Not that you don't know how to draw it, it's just the problem is usually just that you're not, the thing that you're trying to draw is basically at the edge of your skill level. Actually, if anything, I'd say probably the most important thing with being able to draw anime heads is just being able to start like with the most iconic of faces. You know, it's like you notice I'm always adding that back part. You know, always filling out the head. And you'll notice that sometimes I do the eyebrows, sometimes it's that kind of that cheek surface right here. Sometimes the eye just starts with a pupil, you know, and then I later put in the eyelid. This is why why I'm not making any kind of this how-to video because the approach is different. The approach is very much driven by feeling. I mean, I guess if this was all about, like, say, like if I was to teach you how to cook, one thing I can't teach you is how to develop your own sense of taste. Right? All I can tell you is that when you cook, well, you have to taste the food. You have to know, kind of where you're heading towards. And, I'm afraid that's a search I think that everyone is going to have to partake in. You also notice that very frequently I draw and erase and I draw and erase. You might consider these as mistakes. I call them proposals. And I just, as I go along, I strike them down, and I strike them down when I realize that there's something better that I can put in their place, when I can actually see it. So, don't approach this sort of drawing with a perfectionist bent. Don't try to draw things perfectly. Rather, if you do want to be a perfectionist, then you redraw things and you erase and you redraw them until it is exactly what you want. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about knowing what you want and being able to search for what you want. Amazing what hair does when you add it. I mean, you can just take the simplest of faces and then add reasonably, that hair just really frames the face. Right? I mean, that's the other thing. It's getting kind of this feeling, early on in the drawing. That's the way you do that is not in the lines you put down. You have to know what feeling you're trying to convey before you start drawing. So a lot of times these first few lines that I draw, it's like I've already decided, what kind of expression I want. before I've even, drawn it. It's like if you're trying to speak to someone, you know what they say, right? Engage brain before opening mouth. Well, it's kind of the same thing with the pen, is that you have to engage brain before moving pen. You have to figure out what it is that you're trying to say with the pen before you start moving that pen. And then a lot of what I do, like with how the mouth works, like that's all, a lot of that is acquired from, reading lots and lots of manga, and I mean hundreds of manga. Like I would get on, say, Manga Traders, and then just, I don't know, like fucking hundreds of comics that I've followed, and not just one genre. There's like slice of life, there's the action hero type, there's battle manga, there's detective manga, like just follow, and some of them are very realistic. Like Kokuo no Hito is this one slice of life comic about mountain climbing, and it has like incredible artwork. Or there are some that I read just for the art, like Cavalier of the Abyss. That one's a Korean manhwa, which has really good. It is very stylized artwork, and I really like that one. I don't just latch onto one comic that I love. And yes, I do follow Full Metal Alchemist. Actually, well, that ended. There's the same artist, Hiromo Arakawa. She started up another manga, and the name of it escapes me. And it's basically about a kid who goes to agricultural school, and it's a slice of life comic, and it's really good. You see, this is why I don't do the whole. Can you see that? It's like, this is why I don't do how to draw manga heads, because that already is like, I'm already implying so much with the circle is just kind of the basic placeholder, to figure out how to frame the thing, eye, eyebrow, and that, like that. There's just so much more going on behind the scenes that I don't draw, because if I do draw it, then the rest of your brain doesn't fill it in. Like if I draw it, it will essentially ruin the drawing. This is where they talk about over-rendering. And over-rendering to me is if you've taken something to the point where where your audience can fill in the blanks, over-rendering to me is when you start putting in information that they already know is there. And, they can already kind of figure out where it is, and it has a bad effect. It's like, I like ending that mouth just like that. Right? If I want, I can go and I can over-render. Right? Oh, sure, we want realistic lips, The more I do this, it's just, I find the more it, I start to lose a lot of that ability of people to fill in the gaps. And then eventually it starts to fall into the uncanny valley, where it's like, it's kind of human, but not quite, and then it winds up being like a mannequin, and it's very creepy. Right? It's already starting to kind of become creepy. The more human-like and more detailed I start to add, this is why I don't like a lot of North American comics, is because they're always they're always over-rendering all the time. They're always trying to make everything look realistic, and it gets creepy. I don't like that. I like to be able to fill in the blanks myself. Anyway, this is going on 25 minutes, but I don't really have much more to say, so let's just end this.